What's up, fam?
How y'all doing? We're doing good today on this third day of Love, Life, and Relationships with J. Kerr, Charles, and Melendia. So, this is Hump Day. And on our third day, sing with us a little bit.
Relationships.
Just keeping it real, y'all. Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real.
Just keeping it real.
Just keeping it real. Charles and Melendia.
All right
What's
now.
happening?
What's up,
Again,
family?
It is Hump Day. Yes, it is on a Wednesday. Wonderful Wednesday.
Absolutely.
And we're here wanting to go back to remind you to tune in, listen to even some of our other podcasts that we have. We did want to remind you that we are relationship advocates. And we advocate for your relationship.
The success of your relationship.
As well as ours.
As well as ours. So,
Yeah,
a work in progress.
Work in progress.
36 years married.
36, 43 years
43
knowing and
years.
being together.
Yes. So we've gone through the ups and the downs. We still go through them. So again, we are, as we say, a work in progress. We haven't reached that plateau, but we are striving for it.
Yeah,
Continue.
and there's no perfect marriage. There's just two imperfect people striving toward perfection.
Sure.
And that's what we do, So we just like to share things that we go through. And on this series, we're going to continue on our third day.
Of the 5-day love series.
Yep.
And what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today?
Well, we know, as we get into it, we know, as we talked about the word love, a lot of times you ask people, what is love? And a lot of times you may get the answer, oh, it's a strong emotion, it's a feeling.
I don't know why you got to go into character.
No, well, that's me. I've done that all my life. So I hope, it's not your first time saying that. So I go in character. So, I've done it from a child. So I do. And you have to bear with a brother on that.
I do.
So,
43. Didn't I say 43?
yeah. Okay, but the thing about it, you hear a lot of people say when it concerns love is that love is a strong emotion. Love may or may not have much to do with emotion. Sometimes it does.
Right.
It involves emotion, but it's not always emotional. So on this third day, we want to talk to you about particular love, and we're using the Greek terms, the different definitions of love in the Greek from the form there.
Right.
So we may not pronounce the words exactly right, and I've heard several pronunciations for the word. So a brother might be off quite a bit. So just charge it to my head and not my heart, because I do mean to do this thing right.
Or his vocabulary, because we trying to say it the right way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
moving
And,
on.
I do want to say, if you would like to be brought on this conversation, because I like for us to have a conversation.
Yes, feel free.
Just, tap
Feel
in
free.
and say something, and I'll bring
free.
you in. I can bring you in on camera so we can have a conversation.
Yes.
That we can talk back and forth. Because this is not about
Ladies, right.
what so much about specifically what Charles and Melendia say. These are things that we research and we talk about, and things that we want to share with you.
And we're open. We're
Yeah,
open for
we're
conversation.
open.
So please
So,
feel free
yeah.
anytime. Make comments. Just again, it won't be ignored. We will acknowledge the comments as we move on.
So
Okay.
what is day 3's love series today, honey?
Day 3, we're going to talk about from the Greek word, and I'm going to give you 3 pronunciations because I've heard it at least 3 or 4 times.
And then
the
spell
word
it.
is storge.
Storage.
It's STORGE. I've heard it pronounced
Storge.
storge and storge. So I don't know which one is right, but today you got to just walk with the brother. Okay, in other words, what I'm saying, because I may not have it right. But we're going to define this love. And again, it's spelled STORGE. So we're going to talk about this. So this storge love, I tell you what, before we do that, I'm going to give an example about love, showing that there are different types of love. We use one word for love, but yet love has so many meanings. So if somebody say love to us today, we may think in a particular way, and it may or may not be correct. For instance, if you had several people standing in front of you right now, if you had your best friend, you can say your spouse or significant other, you had your parent, and you had your child if you have a child, and a pet if you have a pet, and also your favorite food. If they were all lined up, and you looked at, starting to the friend, you say, I love you, okay? And then next you looked at the pet, and I love you. You looked at your favorite food, and you said, I love you. And you looked at your spouse and says, I love you. Your parent, I love you. Your child, I love you. Now that was the same word, but we know that the meaning for each one is totally different. And that's the thing about this love. So and that's what we want to talk about. So with the storge love, it is a familiar type love.
Right.
Okay?
Right. It's natural.
It's a natural love.
It's a natural love.
Right. And no more, one of the examples there is a love between a parent and a child.
Right.
That's a natural love, a natural affection.
And I
Go
can
ahead.
say, with that, I've read about how it's nothing that you can pinpoint when you actually felt that love, right?
Right.
So even with a love parent-child type of love, it's like I'm not really sure when I was pregnant with my kids when that love started, right?
When did you start loving
when
them?
it
Right.
started love,
Sure.
it could have been from the day that I found out I was pregnant, from the inception. And I just like in not showing that I was pregnant or anything like that, or somebody can say the day I birthed my child, or the day I saw my child. So it's actually it's an unforced type of love.
Okay, so it happens naturally.
Happens
by instinct. It's unforced. Okay.
And it's an accepting type of love.
Acceptance kind of love, and in acceptance, that's one thing we, in most cases, the natural thing, unless there's some interruption in it. Most children accept their parents, and that love for them is unconditional towards their parents, and vice versa, the same. Most parents even accept their children, and like for us, we want to say, for instance, our second child was born with a birth condition. Okay. Now the thing about it, we've been asked, or we've been told, even as we were going through, people would say, "Hey, what are you having? A boy, or girl?" And you would hear the term, "Well, as long as it's healthy, as long as it's healthy." Well, we're going to ask the question, what if it's not healthy? Do you say, "Oh, no, send them back. I don't want them"? What do you do then? That child still deserves the love from a parent. So the thing about it, with that saying sort of grew, I guess we didn't like that saying when we heard
Right.
as long as it's healthy. So
Right.
it's just like, hey, whatever God blesses you with,
Right.
unconditional, unforced, familiar, instinct, accepting kind of love.
Right, and
Right.
that's what most parents that women, when they have children or when they're pregnant, they have that familiar love. They're familiar with that feeling, that natural, emotion that they have from birthing or from carrying a human.
Sure.
So, and then they have that totally unconditional
Unconditional,
way
right,
of
right.
so this storge type of love is what we're talking about today.
Sure, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So again, we're talking, got a 5-day series going, and it's the 5-day love series. We want to talk about the different types of love. I've heard that there's 7 up to 8 different types, but we're covering 5 of them. And today we're on the 3rd day, and we're talking about that. The love storge, or storge, or storge, however it's pronounced in the Greek. So we're talking, I want to say hello to my niece and my aunt out there. I see you. I want to say love to you, family. Because that storge love is a family love.
Yes.
That's the thing. It is familiar with families, with siblings, with parents. and more or less relatives, type love.
Right.
So that's one that's natural.
Right. It's a deep connection and caring bond
Okay.
that develops naturally.
Okay, a natural bond.
That develops naturally with most family connection with each other. We naturally bond together. And as Charles said, the difference of those type of loves for children, mother, animal, food, you can say that same word. You can say that same word, and you still have that storg type of feeling for each person, item, or thing. So it is an unconditional, secure type love.
Right.
That's naturally, instinctively connected.
Right. And a person can have that type love for their pet, whether you have a dog, a cat, whatever.
Yeah.
And again, the
A
same.
team. Even some people have it for like an athletic team.
Okay.
And then
Right.
some people feel that connection even if they're, getting involved in sororities or fraternities.
Sure, exactly.
That type of
and
love.
right. So, and the family sort of environment there, and just like you mentioned about fraternity. See, one of the things there, fraternities, sororities, when it comes down, even let's be real, some people look for that type of love even in gang, related, memberships they join because of the family kind of network is what they seek after. So that's the thing, and people may get that on the job, co-workers, maybe a family sort of environment. So the STORGE love is a family type love, a natural. Now, and what I say, it comes naturally with parents, but again, and relatives and siblings as well, but it can be interrupted. So if there are things that goes on in a family that causes that to be breached, there are some things or some tragedies that happen that causes that. So the thing about that type love, again, it can happen. You don't have to be blood relatives. It can happen with other people that you can have that type love for. So again, that STORGE love is what we're talking about today.
Right. And if you dig deep a little bit into this definition of love, you'll realize that this is a basis for other types of love.
Sure, right.
So it kind of starts here.
Right.
It's the
And it should
initiator.
start there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should start.
Yeah. So you have a question.
Well, I'm going to ask a question because something you just said is that it's the basis of all the love. So it's the STORGE love is what we're talking about today. That's the Greek word. Some pronounce it STORGE or STORGE. And like I say, the brother in Greek don't know the language, but I'm saying the best I can. I've heard 3 different pronunciations. Be patient. You go through with us. But you said something that this is the lead-in type love for other loves. And I'm going to say if you are married, or you have a significant other or a partner, however, with that, I want to say this. Then I'm going to ask you, do you feel that you have a STORGE love or STORGE love? Do you feel you have that? Because we know that just like with my wife and myself, we know that we have a romantic love. We know that. Yeah. So, but the thing about it, do we have the friendship love? Do we have the connected type love, from that closest family love? Do we have that? And with some people, they build relationships on friendship first. And those are some of the strongest relationships, whether they go to marriage or in a loving type relationship or romantic type relationship. So if you could establish that type relationship first, I think you have very strong relationships. I hear people all the time say, guess who I married? My best friend. And that's the thing. When you do that, becoming best friends. And I think sometimes we put the pressure on getting a lover or a mate or someone to marry. We put the pressures on that and we never experience the STORGE or friendship type of relationship.
So, because it's a familiar love. In building a relationship, or as you're starting to date and things like you're starting to look at certain aspects and characteristics of an individual, and it becomes a natural feeling. It's a natural feeling and a natural emotion that you have for this person, that you become more comfortable and relaxed and accepting, unconditional,
Unconditional,
and feel
right.
secure. You know,
right.
of that person is loving you, and it's not forced. It's not
Right.
a forced love. It's a
Natural.
totally natural feeling.
Yes, right.
And you know, again, we talk about the conditions of our world today, and you don't necessarily have to have a story love to be romantic. You know, because you know, just like the different things that Charles just mentioned, food, pets, and all that. You're not romantic with these items or people or places or things. You know, you become familiar with it, and it's an unconditional feeling. It's an emotional, a natural, unforced feeling. And if we could just, you know, if we could just, as people out here, have this familiar love, this secure, unconditional, unforced love, and feel comfortable with your friends and neighbors, people that may not agree with what you're saying, and we could probably get along a lot better. You think?
Well, yeah, I think, well, we're in a society where, and most people are very judgmental, and we know that takes us somewhere. But and sometimes we don't let the natural relationship or friendship flow. You know, because again, we mentioned that this is unconditional. It's accepting, and we're not accepting as a people. We're not very accepting as a whole to people that are different from us. You know, whether that's race, whether that's ideals or ideas. You know, and again with religion, with you know, political views, with health views. You know, it tends to break down. If you're different from me, then that's it. That stops it. So and I think we becoming more like that, to where we are less accepting of other people if they express different views. But what we've got to, you know, learn as far as the family, the natural relationships. We know with the storage relationship is natural, just like parent to child, child to parent, as we say, and relatives, siblings. You know, hey, that's my brother, that's my sister. I grew up with them. I accept them, who they are, you know, what they are, their ideas as well. So that's some of it. We got to get there. And even with marriages, you know, again, that we ought to build or work on building friendships with our spouses first.
Right.
You
But
know.
just so we can be clear, we want to make sure we say that with this type of love, it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic.
Right.
I mean, you can have a
Storage is not
pure
romantic.
stored relationship with a dear friend. You know, you generally love this friend because they're familiar, it's unforced, it's natural, it's accepting, it's secure. And I don't have to become romantic with you know what, he's doing stuff back here.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, you don't have to necessarily be romantic, you know, with someone to have a storage love.
So you saying I'm being romantic or something?
You know,
No, I
we didn't even
wasn't
touch
being
that other love
romantic.
yet.
I would just okay. Ain't nobody got to know about that. So hey, we're gonna keep on. We're gonna stay on target, stay on our subject here.
Well.
But yeah, I'm just making friendship, you know, here. Just
Well,
trying
we
be
want to
friends.
say
Yeah.
that this one word,
Yes.
storage, love, it's one word, but it can have several meanings.
So, again, just reiterating, the storage love is an affection love.
Yes.
It's a familiar love.
It's a familiar love.
And it's more expressed, again, like we said, with parent to child, child to parent, and they accept each other unconditionally. And again, it's just, you know, it's an accepting type of love. And most parents accept their children, and most children accept their parents. Like I say, unless there's an interruption in the process, then that is the natural flow.
Yeah. So, do you think you can have a stoic love with someone that you don't really like?
Stoic love with someone you don't really like? I don't think so, because
What
again,
y'all think? What you
I
think?
don't think
If
so.
you really don't
If you don't
care
like a
too
person.
much for the person, so you don't really care too much for the person, right? But you know, as someone that you want to keep the peace, keep it moving, and everything, can you have an unconditional love for them?
Well, if we
Even
if we look at the definition of a storage type love, it says not only is it a familiar type love, it's a natural love, and it's unforced. Sound like if you're saying I don't like a person, sound like you got to force something in order to make it happen. I don't think it's considered
Yeah.
a storage love if you're forcing it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So
because
somebody
yeah.
can say, I have stoic love, but I don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds conflicting, don't it? That's like is that like an oxymoron?
Well, to a degree, you say, I don't like them, I have a love for them, I don't like them. Well, I know we've said things like that before, because you and I have even used that term to say, hey, I love you, but I don't like you right now, So we've used
Does
that term with
happen,
each
but
other,
Yeah,
but we know, and sometimes being with a person so long, you can get to some unlikable points. Let's just be real,
Yeah.
So with that, but you love them dearly,
So that stoic
yes.
love, you really still have to have that connection, that familiar feeling, that acceptance and secure feeling, which is different when it comes to. It doesn't necessarily have to become romantic,
Right, absolutely.
but it is the beginning of those type of additional.
And it ought to be
relationships and love.
right. It ought to be
It should
present,
be the
right,
beginning.
right, in a romantic relationship. Yeah, and like, as I say earlier, people that we know that you hear them talk about, I married my best friend, or this person is my best friend, and sometimes even in that they have become best friends, and they end up marrying later or develop a romantic relationship, but it was based on friends. I never would have thought that I would have, fallen in love with this one, because we were buddies. We've been like tight there, but some of the best relationships.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in
Yep.
today on our third day. Let's just evaluate yourself. Do you have that stoic love with what? Maybe a good friend, or your parents, or are you developing this type of love that may go into something else with someone that you are hoping to, connect with? It's okay, because that should be the beginning of your relationship. So,
Sure.
this is Jay Kerr.
J. Kerr.
This is me, Melendia. That's
Charles.
Charles. Talking about stoic love on the third day.
Yes, and where we talk about love, life, and relationships.
Thanks for tuning
So
in.
thank you for tuning in.
We'll see you tomorrow again at 7:30
Okay.
on our next
Don't think so. Okay. Right.
5-day series on another love tip.
Yep. In the meantime, stay prayed up, stay believing, and we love you
Unconditionally.
unconditionally. All right.
See you later.
We out with a little theme song.
We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it with us.
Just keeping it real, y'all.
Hey.
Relationships.
Yeah.
Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real.
Yeah.
Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. Keeping it real. Just keeping it real.
Y'all take care. Bye.
Love you.